Hey friends, it's Jeannie, and I'm back today to share a fun light up card using items from two crafty companies. I am using the Alphabet Carly and Mini Halloween Hauntings die sets from iCrafter and the Easy Lights from Pear Blossom Press. I haven't made a light up card in a really long time, and I kind of miss doing them. I think I associate light up cards with the holidays. As we are approaching the first holiday of the season, it's the perfect time to pull them out. To start off my card, I'm creating my own sentiment using the Alphabet Carly die set, which comes with upper and lowercase alphas. I thought it'd be super fun to create my own sentiment, and I did Google. So I decided to use Happy Haunting because I don't think I've really seen that sentiment anywhere, and it's perfect because it will be a presence on an A2 card since these alphas are kind of small but perfect sized to create any sentiment you want. I am using a piece of scrap white cardstock that actually has double-sided adhesive on the back of it. I like to use the scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive because it is a little thicker, and so when I use it to die cut, it doesn't die cut all the way through the adhesive backing, and that way it kind of keeps everything together so I don't have to lose any small die cuts. These alphas are a little small, so you definitely don't want to lose them when you're crafting. So it's super helpful for them to stay together, and then I can do whatever I want with them. So for the alphas, I thought it would be really fun to add some color and a twist to it. I decided to go the route of Goosebumps, and if you are familiar with Goosebumps, you can imagine the font of Goosebumps. It kind of looks like slime. There's slime on top of the letters, and that's exactly what I did. So I'm just using some green Copic markers to recreate that slime on top of these alphas, and then I will be coloring the rest of the letters in purple because purple, green, orange, those are super Halloween colors, and it's the only time of year that I actually use that color palette together. So creating these alphas actually reminded me of a story from when I was a kid. I wanted to share it with you. So when I was a kid, I went to K through 8 school, and each grade had like 30 kids. It was a private school, so all the classes were kind of small and you kind of knew each other. Like siblings were at the same school, and so you knew the upper classmates and then you knew the younger kids as well in the lower grades. My brother, he was 3 grades back, and we were really into Scholastic book orders. So we would order a bunch of Goosebumps. It was super popular at the time. We were really into them, reading them all the time, and that's what you kind of did as a kid. We didn't have iPhones and iPads and all that technology, so it was either TV or books. I read a lot as a kid, and I really liked Goosebumps, and I decided to make bookmarks because my mom actually worked at a paper company where they had like tons of cardstock, packaging tape, all the items I needed to create bookmarks. And what I did was I took a piece of cardstock and I would copy the Goosebumps logo. I would draw it and then add the slime, and then I can color it in 2 different colors like I'm doing the letters right now. It would be whatever color my brother wanted, and then I laminated it using packaging tape and then punched a hole, I think, added some thread so it kind of looked fancy, and then he used it as bookmarks. So he took it to his school, and I guess his friends were like, hey, where'd you get that? Like, that's cool. Like, where do you buy that? So he came home and he told me, and that was the beginning of my Goosebumps bookmark business. The funny thing is that it ended up getting shut down because as a kid and at school, apparently you're not allowed to open your own business and sell and solicit. So it got shut down. But it was really fun because I did make money from it when I was a kid. I forgot how much I charged. Anyway, for the card panel, I decided to go with a piece of black cardstock, and I used Distress Oxide inks because they're pigment inks and then they show up on dark cardstock. So I used 3 different colors and kind of dulled it down using black soot, and I decided that I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle to it. I guess it could be seen as a nighttime scene card, but it really isn't. I just splattered perfect pearls all over it, and I thought that it was really fun for a Halloween card. For the sentiment itself, I actually put it on acetate because it already has that double-sided adhesive on the back of it. And I wasn't exactly sure where I wanted all my die cuts to go, so that's why I put it on the acetate, so I could move it around to see exactly where I wanted to place everything, and that way I don't have to put it directly on the panel and rip it if I pulled it up. I decided where I wanted my 3 die cuts, and these are the 3 die cuts that will actually light up later. So I'm using the skull, the ghost, and the spider that's in the set. As you can see, there's like holes in them, and I wanted to do some die inlay. So I cut out those 3 items and I decided that I wanted to add some color to the die cuts. I did this by using embossing powder. So for the first one, I used white cardstock and I used Hero Art's Satin Pearl embossing powder, which kind of gives it a sheen. It's not super opaque. It's just a really subtle color, but on white, it kind of just looks white. But it does look like a skull color, and it was perfect for the hands too. Once I covered up that white cardstock, I went ahead and heat embossed it, and I set it aside because I have a few more to create. The next one up was gray cardstock for the spider, and I also covered it with the Satin Pearl embossing powder, and it ends up giving it kind of a silvery look. Then the next one, I thought it'd be really fun to use Lawn Fawn's glow-in-the-dark embossing powder on white cardstock, and that will be for the ghost. So I went ahead and covered up that panel, and those are the 3 cardstocks that I will be using for my die cuts. I actually ended up using the white and Satin Pearl for the hands as well. So I went ahead and die cut all those little items out. I actually die cut a few of those hands because I thought it'd be fun to have hands like everywhere, but I ended up only using 2 of them. The point was just to have the different colors and textures, and this isn't normally my kind of card, and I actually had a lot of fun doing it. So the idea was to die inlay this and all the items that I was die cutting, and of course if you want to die inlay, you'll have to have a back. As much as I've made light up cards, I still messed up, and it's been a while since I've made them, but I did mess up, and we'll talk about it when we get to that point. For the spider webs, I decided that I wanted to run a piece of vellum through my Xyron sticker maker so I could add double-sided adhesive behind it, because if you use vellum and you use glue, you kind of see the adhesive and it's not so cute. This is where I messed up. I went ahead and put double-sided adhesive on it, and then I backed it with vellum. I messed up because I'm supposed to use those openings in my card panel to mark where exactly I want my lights. And because the vellum is there, I can't like put a pencil through it and then mark my card base that should be behind it. And I realized this after I die inlay my first skull. And of course I could have gone back and redid this portion, but I really just didn't think it was necessary. I kind of just went with it. So this is where I realized it, and I pulled a piece of white cardstock and I'm kind of flipping it and using a pencil to mark exactly where I want the lights, because you need the light placement exact so the lights will shine through those holes. And if you don't, then it kind of ruins the whole purpose of having a light up card. It took me a bit of time, and it would have been much easier if I didn't add that vellum, but it worked out, so it's fine. And then I went ahead and added my die cuts onto the vellum and did the die inlay. I thought it was really fun because I had different textures and different colors, and I really think that the glow-in-the-dark one's the really cool one because you kind of see it glow, and it just glows through the eyes, and then it has that additional glow effect on its body as well. It's definitely not a card that I normally would make, and I'm so happy with it because it just ended up being way cooler than I had imagined in my head. The acetate really helps out because it just lets me figure out where exactly I want the letters, and then at that point I just double check, and then I'll add the letters directly onto the card panel. And it's really helpful knowing exactly where I am placing the sentiments without having to commit immediately, especially like if I had die cut this and it shifted and I would have to like kind of play with it. And you know what? If I came back to this card and redid it, I might have moved the sentiments so that they are not super straight on the card, so it would look a little bit more spooky. So to finish off the card panel, I'm just adding those hands, which I think is my favorite die cut from this set because it has so many details for a hand. You can see the little knuckles. It's just really awesome. And then the cobwebs. The cobwebs are a great filler. It just fills up any empty space I have. I'll adhere the hands with liquid glue, and then the cobwebs already have that double-sided adhesive to it. Also, I ended up cutting one of the cobwebs in half and just putting it right on top of the sentiment, and I thought that that really filled up the space. I was super pleased with how this card turned out, and I'm so glad that I was a part of this collab. We're actually doing a hop over on Instagram if you're interested. Try to put details up on my blog. I've been really bad about it, but I know that there have been some projects recently that have gotten a lot of questions, and I just didn't create a blog post for it. So hopefully I get the chance to do that, and you can see this in further detail. For the cobwebs, I'm just filling up the space, and I really just am happy with how this card came together. For the back of the vellum, I actually pulled out some Copic markers to color up the openings just adds some color to the light, and it's really fun when it lights up. So once I do that, I will match it up and make sure that my pencil marks are in the right space, and I'll move on to putting my lights together. The lights come in packs of 5, 3, and 2, I think, and then each of them comes with the main housing unit plus a battery, and the main housing unit has 3 lights attached to it. So there's nothing extra that you need to do besides placing the lights where you need them to be. It makes it super simple for you to do, and it's one of the easiest interactive items that I use to create cards. So for the housing unit, you also want to put double-sided adhesive on it because you want it to stay put. For the lights, I use Scotch tape. I just matched up the lights. There's a small light at the ends of the wires, and I matched it up with the pencil marks I had. For the wires, I just put tape on it, and I'll be covering it up with foam tape anyway. It really doesn't matter. Just don't bend the wires too tightly, and everything should work. For all my light up cards, I use 2 layers of foam tape because the housing unit is about 2 layers tall. So you definitely want to use the same amount of depth as the housing unit for the light. So once I finish adding the foam tape, I'll go ahead and put my card panel right on top, and you'll see that it lights up. So to finish off the card, I decided to pull out my glossy accents to add a little bit something extra to the lettering and the slime. And it's so fun after because it's all shiny and it looks like slime. It's a really cool addition. And of course, I also had to stamp out a little push here sentiment so the recipient of the card knows to push. So once they push the button, it'll light up. So you see the yellow lights behind the skull, and then the red for the spider. I hope you enjoyed this card, and remember to stop by Instagram for our collab. There's going to be a giveaway, so you can have a chance to win, and I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye!